This is a Thunder Game Report.
Hi, I'm Randy Renner. Thunder General Manager Sam Presti got together with reporters today, his annual meeting to begin the NBA season. He was asked a whole lot of questions, a lot about Russell Westbrook and his health, whether or not he'll be able to get on the practice floor anytime soon. Also questions about the Thunder's overseas trip to Turkey. They leave for that next week for their first preseason game. And then he was asked about a scouting report overall on the Western Conference, a lot of changes in the landscape in the West. As for the answers, well, let's get them from the man himself. Here's Sam Presti from the news conference on Wednesday.
Well, first and foremost, just want to thank everybody for joining us today. It's obviously exciting for us to begin to get started, and I really appreciate everybody coming out this afternoon to join us. At this time of the year, I always try to just give a little bit of insight into the state of the organization, and I think it's somewhat important given that we're past the 5-year mark and approaching the march to our first 10 years in Oklahoma City. We feel very, very good about the organization overall, our progress, not only on the court but also off the floor in terms of being a community member and continually building our relationships within the city and with our fans and with all of our partners. So we're excited about the next 5 years as well. In particular to this season, we're excited about this season. We're excited about the opportunity to build on the successes of last season, the strengths of last season, and we think we have an opportunity to do that. In terms of the team itself, we're excited about the fact that we have a nice mix of players. We have some veterans on this team that are going to help us. We're also excited about some young emerging players, younger players that we hope will continue to grow and contribute over time, not only this season but in years to come as well. And then, we have a very unique blend of pre-prime players that have an inordinate and unique amount of experience in the postseason. And probably most of all, one of the things that we really enjoy about this team and we're looking forward to is the fact that they've been together for a while. Obviously, they've enjoyed a lot of high performance, a lot of winning, but they've also gone through some valleys as well and had to deal with some adversities together. And we really value the fact that a lot of these guys, share the same scars. So continuity, experience, and the fact that these guys have been together for a while are all things that have us excited about the year. Obviously, Russell is an important part to that mix as well. So I want to make sure that I just touch on that as well, even though we talked about it a little bit earlier this week. He's on pace to this point in the recovery process, but we're not going to put a specific timetable on his return simply because it's just too big a decision. His health is most important, not just for this season, but for many years to come. And he's done an excellent job and shown unbelievable discipline and rigor through the process. We expect him to come back at full strength, but he's got to finish the rest of the benchmarks. And once he does, and it will be a medical decision, he'll be cleared for unrestricted activity, and we'll be happy to have him back on the floor. But we need to follow that process through and treat it as seriously as we have to date. Once he gets back on the court, I also think it's important to note that there's going to be a period of adjustment. Anytime someone goes through a rehabilitation process, it's not just a physical thing, but also a skill thing. So there'll be some time for him to adjust. The team understands that. The organization understands that. I think Russell understands that. But it falls in line with a lot of what we're about as an organization, which is we want to get better on a daily basis. We want to be in a position where we're playing our best basketball at the end of the season. And we're focused on building those habits early on and finding ways throughout the year to maximize the group that we have, to optimize the group that we have, and if we're fortunate enough to get to the postseason, to be in a position to really impact the postseason. And we're excited about taking that mentality and implementing it. It has worked well for us in the past, and we're going to continue to subscribe to that. Additionally, as we've gone through the seasons of past, one of the things that I think our teams have done well is adjust and adapt throughout an 82-game season. We're going to constantly be looking to do that. As I said before, there's some really positive things that we took away from last season on both sides of the ball. We want to try to improve on those. We want to continually try to improve and grow on those. And the continuity of the group is one thing that allows us to be confident that we can do that. So I guess in closing, before I'm happy to take any questions, we've got a lot of confidence in this particular group. I've got an incredible amount of confidence in our players, our people, our processes, and also the mentality that has been in place here for 5 years. Part of that mentality is that we know we have to do the work. We're not entitled to anything. We've had some good years here. We've enjoyed a lot of successes. We've dealt with some adversities as well. But everybody starts from the same place at the beginning of the season. It's our job to go out, build the habits, grow, come together, use the 82 games to find out how good this team can be. And I have a lot of confidence in the people that are in place to do those things.
Questions? Sam, with Russ's situation, how much do you expect him to be involved in training camp?
Randy, he'll be able to go through the parts that he's cleared for. I'm hesitant to say right now exactly what it is he'll be able to do a week from the first day, but I can tell you he will be going through parts of camp starting on the first day, pending that everything continues as is. With that being said, when you're dealing with rehabilitation, it's a day-by-day thing because you're constantly retraining the body to do things that it has not done for a while. So there'll be some good days, probably some setbacks as well, but he'll be able to do a lot on the floor early on, and once he's meeting those thresholds and meeting those benchmarks, that load will increase.
Are you surprised that it's taking this long for him to be cleared? Do you have any kind of time frame in your minds? I think most people thought he would have been cleared by now based on the injury we talked about.
Well, I think first and foremost, the most important thing is that he's healing properly, and all signs point to that. We were very hesitant to give a specific timetable because when you're dealing with injuries and recovery times, everybody's different. I think, we're in a position as an organization where we have to be very thoughtful about how positions we put him in, and he has to do the same thing. And until he's given that, clearance, we're going to be very cautious, and we're going to make sure that he's in positions to be successful going forward. It's very hard for me to say like a specific date, and I wouldn't do that because I think it would be probably not only unfair but also irresponsible for us. He'll be on the court as soon as he's cleared to be able to participate, and we're hopeful that it'll be very soon.
Did he encounter anything that may be unexpected in the offseason, setbacks or anything that?
No, he's actually done great. It's been a process. Some days have been better than others. But the kind of worker he is, he's driven. He's always going to try to push it, within what our people will let him do. So hopefully things continue as they've gone. But with it being rehab, we don't want to predict the future.
Sam, how do you think the team has gotten better this offseason?
Well, I think it all comes down to how you define better. I can tell you that I feel like we've improved in several ways, not just on the court, but obviously off the court as well. But I feel really good. I mean, this has been the first summer that Kevin has not had USA basketball and has had time to really put time into his game and how it fits within our group and our team. I think Reggie Jackson and Jeremy Lamb have really almost pushed the standards higher for some of the younger players that'll follow them in our program in the future. They've been incredibly diligent. The time they've put in and the quality of the work has been exceptional. I'm happy for those guys because it's always good when you have people upholding that level of commitment. I mean, I think across the board, our guys have put in a lot of time. I think our coaching staff has put in a lot of time. So overall, I think that, I think we've improved across the board. Serge had arrived last night and put himself through an incredibly grueling workout for about an hour and a half late last night. So I expect our guys to come back better. That's the reason why we've invested in those guys.
Talk a little bit about Jeremy and Reggie. I mean, in the past you've had obviously James Harden was really good at his role coming off the bench, just an offense. Kevin Martin, he does a solid job as well. Now you've got these two guys entering the season. Reggie Jackson entering last season with a little bit of sort of an unknown commodity. You got two guys that are sort of the expectations are high. Talk about how you've seen them develop this offseason.
Sure. Well, I think oftentimes it's easy for us to look at those particular guys or any players anytime a team undergoes any kind of change and make the assumption that that's how the change will be accounted for. But, I've said this before. Every team is different. Even if you bring back the same 15 players from the year before, the team is different. Some players are improving. Some may be plateauing. How the particular group comes together, how teams might be playing that particular group strategically or tactically. So I wouldn't necessarily look at Reggie and Jeremy as, specific areas. I think our job, over the course of 82 games is to figure out how everybody fits together and how that group is best maximized, and hopefully playing our best basketball at the end of the year. I've got tremendous confidence in Scott and the coaching staff to figure that out. But I don't think it's probably appropriate to necessarily make an assumption on who's going to play what role or how much someone will be relied upon, because it's discounting the impact of the other players that exist on the roster.
Sam, you guys didn't make a lot of changes in the offseason with free agency and such. I assume part of that is salary cap, but is part of it what you're talking about with expecting guys to come back better and prove that you'll be a better team even though it may not be from acquisition and that sort of thing?
Well, I mean, we've always, for us, focused on how we grow, how we improve. We've never been a huge free agency team. With that being said, I think that the group that we have is proven. It's been together. It's been through some ups and downs, as I said earlier. But their core of the team is also, pre-prime players. So I think it's safe to assume, when we made our commitments, when we design the infrastructure of the team, you want to be in a position where we're capable of playing an extremely high level year in and year out, but also with the opportunity to add to the team or grow with the team or put players around the team that could raise that level in concert with some of the core players. I think more than anything, we're sticking to that approach. We're confident in the group that we have, and part of our confidence comes from the work ethics. Part of our confidence comes from the unique blend of age and experience that these guys have together. And it's rare to have the continuity that we've been able to achieve. We value that. Will that translate into a high level of success this year? We don't know. But we feel very confident about our team and our approach.
Sam, back to Russ for a second. It sounds like from what you said, there's at least the possibility that he will not be ready for the start of the regular season. Is that right, or am I reading too much into it?
Well, I wouldn't say that he will be, and I wouldn't say that he won't be. Again, we've got to see how the next month goes. So beyond that, I'd just be projecting on things that I really have no business projecting on. We're going to trust the medical team. Russell will be ready to go, once he's cleared. But, this is an important player for us, not only for this year, but for many years down the line, and we'll be operating with that in mind.
A guy that hasn't been talked about a lot this offseason, but was talked about plenty last season was Kendrick.
Mm-hmm.
By his own self-admission, he didn't have a good year last year. He struggled offensively, struggled more than he'd like to defensively. What have you seen in all this offseason from him, and have you been in contact with him about what he's been working on, and what do you expect from Kendrick this season?
Well, I mean, obviously, he has high standards for himself. He expressed those at the end of last season. He, makes up part of the part of the group, part of that continuity that's been around for quite some time and been a part of some of the best teams or the best teams that we've had here. We expect him to continue to be an elite post defender. We expect him to impact the play of some of the top-tier centers in the league, especially those in the Western Conference. He's going to impact our team in other ways as well. We've said that before. It's always hard to answer those questions without sounding defensive, other than to say that, Perk's a part of the success that we've had here. He's an important member of the team. We expect him to fill the role that he's given and contribute.
Back to Russell for a moment. Is the injury still what you thought it was, or has something changed? When we talked a few months ago, you thought you were pretty confident you'd come back and be the same Russell left. Is that confidence still there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe you talk about this group having shared some scars.
Mm-hmm.
You get the sense, as this group gathers for this camp, that has added to any sort of additional hunger or desire or fire in the belly of their intensity.
You might have to ask the guys that particular question, but how I would look at it is that we've got a group of guys that are self-starters on their own, have high standards, and as I've said, many a time, guys that have been here and been part of the first team that's ever, wore a Thunder uniform. And I think they have, those guys have ownership over the culture and the standards that are in place. I think they strive, each day and each year to try to meet those and push those forward. And we're trying to continue to gather people and players that can, buy into that, want to be a part of that, and have the capacity to sustain that over time, which isn't easy. But the competitive level of our group is something that we always feel good about, because our best players are our hardest workers. They're the ones that set the standards internally, and it's a big reason why we've enjoyed the success we have.
You guys got a trip abroad coming up in about a week, something you've never done as a franchise. What are you hoping to get from that, and how do you think that could help you guys going into the season?
Well, obviously, it's an honor for us to be chosen to go play overseas and represent Oklahoma City, outside of the United States. How we use that time will be important. It's still time on the clock, so to speak, for us during training camp, and all that time amounts and aggregates, for the end of the season. So I think there's all kinds of ways it can be helpful, but it's what we make of it, the time on the floor and the time off the floor. I think our players will enjoy the experience, our coaching staff will enjoy the experience, and we also have to find a way to maximize our time on the court while we're there.
Sam, you've obviously been overseas a lot, scouting and that sort of thing. I'm sure we'll see it as these games play out, but this team's appeal, it really seems to know no bounds. Have you seen that evidence firsthand on trips, and do you expect to see it again on this trip?
Internationally?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think, we've talked about this. We talked about it at the opening of our conversation. We're 5 years in, but you don't build the finality of an identity for a franchise in 5 years. With that being said, I do think that there are some, pillars in place. So when you do go overseas, people follow the team. I think we're very fortunate. We have some very identifiable players. We've been very fortunate to play in some high-profile games and play deep into the season, and that always helps over there. I think the other thing is having international players. We've really embraced international players, not only on our roster, but also drafting international players as well overseas. We see no bounds to basketball. There's international or domestic. It's all basketball. I think we're getting to that point in time where there's no delineation, and I think that's a good thing.
Do you ever walk into, on the domestic side, do you ever walk into an arena, Washington, Orlando, somewhere, random, and see Thunder fans wearing the Thunder blue? Does it ever surprise you anymore?
I'll give you a story.
Great.
Okay. I think last year is when we started talking about music documentaries, so I'm going to try to stay away from that this year. Matt doesn't like that. Although I do have some good ones from this summer. So this summer. Okay, story. I had to go back to Boston, Massachusetts. It's where I'm from originally for a charity event. I'm a part of a board, and there's an event there, middle of September every year. And one of the things I always do is I drive around the streets of my old town where I grew up. And it's not a big place. So I'm driving down in front of my former school, elementary school, and there's a kid that's skateboarding towards me. Okay, it's the same hill I skateboarded down, and I walked this hill a million times. I could literally do it blindfolded, not skateboard it, walk it. And he's coming towards me, and he's got a blue shirt on, and as he's getting closer to me, it's an Oklahoma City shirt. It was a moment I won't forget. And the reason why I'm telling you that story is for somebody that wasn't born here and wasn't raised here, I have infinite respect for this state, this city, and this community. I live here. It's my home. But I don't know that I really could connect with and understand authentically with the pride that's felt when you see that jersey somewhere else. So having that connection in a place where I was raised, a place where I would never have imagined seeing that because it's a small suburb outside of Boston, it definitely struck me on a personal level, and I have a deep appreciation. I think maybe a deeper appreciation for understanding when people are wearing our colors, supporting our team outside of this state. We take a lot of pride in what that logo stands for, and ultimately what we want it to stand for. And it's one of the things that gets us motivated each year.
Are you guys? I mean, some teams are going to wear the sleeves on the jerseys and everything, alternate jerseys and different color combinations. Are you guys doing anything of that? And also, is that the team decision or the league?
The league has, when it comes to the sleeves, the league has input on that. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on that particular issue, but there's a chance that we may end up wearing sleeves during the year. When, I can't tell you that. Other than that, there will be no other additional changes to the uniforms. Yeah, we'll continue to do that, on selected nights.
You mentioned the core of your team as being pre-prime
Mm-hmm.
and also as self-starters. What from those guys have you seen this summer in terms of improvement or growth?
Well, I think they've all improved in their own ways. As I said earlier, Kevin having the time to devote to individual development, I think is a big thing for us. In addition to having some time to recover physically, all of them has been big. And I'd expect him to continue to get better for many years, not only because of his age, but also because of who he is. Serge the same way. Those guys are incredible workers, both of them. And then Russell, I believe, once he gets back on the floor, I think he'll be better as a result of going through what he went through, as difficult as it's been. He's as competitive as they come, but he's also as smart as they come. And I would be lying if I told you I didn't think he was being incredibly observant throughout this process, and probably using every minute of every game to think through and see the game from a different lens.
Sam, you're really young guys. You got a big haul in the draft as far as a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of sort of late first round, early second area. Tulsa's been good to you. You've had a lot of development through there. You get guys like Lamb coming through there and getting some experience. Are all these guys that you just drafted, are they sort of already designated for Tulsa, or will they have a shot open right off the bat to make this team?
You know, I think it's way too early to determine who will see time in Tulsa. I do think it's safe to say that we'll always look to utilize it. It's a big part of our organization, primarily because the development of players is really essential to our ability to sustain, a high-level team for a period of years, which is what we're aiming to do. It's too early to designate, how Steven and Andre will be utilized. That's obviously going to have to take its own form, and Scott has to make decisions about, the roles of the players and the positions they're put in and things of that nature. But we feel really good about the summers that both those guys had. They're workers. They understand what it means to play here. I think they both have a really good feel for who they are as players, and they also understand they have a lot of work to do. But when we drafted them, there was no, there were no secrets about that. But we were excited that both of them are in the program.
Sam, since Turkey shares a border with Syria, although it's at the opposite end of the country from where you'll be in Istanbul, are there any extra security concerns going to that part of the world?
You know what, Randy, I think it's a very fair question. I think the way I would answer it is that the NBA is the group that's really coordinating the trip. It's their trip. They pretty much devise the schedule from the time that we take off from here, and any questions in relation to their preparations or thought processes should probably be directed to them without me answering that.
With the exception of Russell, everybody think will participate in the overseas play?
Yeah, I would anticipate that. I think 1 year before, or a couple years ago, I might have said that and someone sprained their ankle playing a pickup or something like that. So if you ask me today, the answer is yes, but, hopefully that doesn't change.
There's been a lot of talk about Thunder U.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I sort of think of that in terms of the development of guys like Reggie and Jeremy. In your mind, why has it worked? Why have we seen guys graduate essentially from Thunder U and be successful the way Reggie has and the way it looks like Jeremy possibly has a chance to be?
Well, I mean, I think the only reason I'm hesitant to answer that question is just because development is an ongoing process for every player. It's not just younger players. I don't think development is something that is age-based. We like to think that we have a responsibility to try to improve every player that we have. When we had Kevin Ollie, we wanted to try to find a way to improve Kevin Ollie. So it's not an age-based thing. By the same token, you have to give a lot of credit to our staff. Sticking with guys, giving guys opportunities, understanding that, being on the floor, playing and probably playing through some things has been a big factor. And I think Scott's, commitment to recognizing that and how important that is for the organization, now and in the future, he deserves a lot of credit. I also think the rest of our staff, holistically, our medical group, our athletic performance group, everybody plays a hand in the development of players. But the players have to do the work. And the players, like a Reggie Jackson, has put in an inordinate amount of time to commit to his craft, to find out if he can gain an edge here or there in an area that can help not only him but ultimately our team. So, I think it's a combination of things. But at the end of the day, the players do the work, and we're fortunate that we have some workers. Good, Jenny.
Is it motivational, though, to a guy like Reggie, when he was bouncing around between Tulsa
Mm-hmm.
and here, that he was here a lot and able to, see, you could see where he was going, sort of,
Sure.
you could see the end goal? I mean, just on a psychological, motivational type of role?
Sure, I think, it's not easy on any player. Everybody wants to be on the court, but I also think it's a good issue for us to have. We talk about there not being a whole lot of minutes, and Scott has a hard job. He can't extend the game, but finding ways to keep the guys progressing and growing in getting opportunities, where they can. And but I do think one of the things that benefits a player like Reggie is coming in and seeing the guys that we talk about a lot, Westbrook, Ibaka, Collison, Durant, their approach to the craft on a day-to-day basis, their attention to detail, to the work that they do individually. My hope is that there's certainly a residue that comes through that as well. But I don't think it's certainly not certainly not in a bottle somewhere, and we don't have all the answers either. We've had plenty of players that, haven't improved, but we put our best foot forward with everybody to try to make them better. Not just our players, but we feel the same way about our people across the organization. We want everyone to grow and develop here and do their best work of their careers while they're in Oklahoma City.
You mentioned Serge and Kenny had a good workout last night. Any insights you can give us on what he's done this summer, what some of the things that he's working on?
Well, I think, he's always going to be a presence defensively for us. I mean, statistically, that's relatively proven, his impact on the team. But, I think consistently working on spreading the floor, making shots, again, like playing around the rim. There's so many arteries to his game that I think will continue to be developed over time. He's still a very young basketball player, just because we've been seeing him on a more regular basis doesn't make him, less likely to improve.
Sam, are you going to add some guys for training camp? Will you do that by Saturday, or
Yeah.
will you wait till you get back?
Yeah, we will make a couple of additions for camp. You should see those here shortly. It won't be a huge collection of players, but it'll be a couple.
Sam, you talked earlier about you talked earlier about trying to build on the things you did well last year. Can
Sure.
you just elaborate on some of those things that you feel like you guys did well and some of the
Sure.
things that you think this team needs to improve?
Yeah, sure.
Well,
That's the first part. I'm going to have to write this down. Okay, so I think if you look at the performance of the team last year, obviously we're in the top 5 offensive efficiency and top 5 defensive efficiency. Much credit to the players and to the coaches. That's a hard thing to accomplish. We need to be focused on not just maintaining that, but trying to find ways that we can improve upon that. So, I think that's an important thing. Obviously, the outcome of the year, in the regular season, in the division, and all those things were very positive. But I think at the end of the day, we're looking at our quality of play, and I think it was at a very high level at points in time last season. So we want to maintain some of the progress and the core ideologies that helped us be successful last year, but we also want to find ways to try to improve on the edges as well. And I think we're capable of that defensively, in the smaller areas. For us, I think our growth continues to be in the areas of attention to detail, spacing, all the things that Scott's preaching on a regular basis, execution. The difference between consistently playing at the highest level. And I think our team is mature enough and established enough to really embrace that challenge. And I feel very confident that we'll be able to take a step forward in those areas.
my last question is about a guy who doesn't get talked about probably nearly enough, and I think he's only been mentioned once in this setting, is Nick Collison.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 8 guys who have spent 10 seasons with the same team, only 2 are
In the league.
Yeah. Only 2 are multiple-time All-Stars,
Mm-hmm.
Udonis Haslem and Collison.
Mm-hmm.
What's made Nick just have such staying power and being able to be with the same franchise, withstand the move and multiple coaches and just do so much to be consistent in his career?
The guy's a flat-out winner. He just represents what we want to be about. I don't feel like I can answer it any better than that.
Sam, how much This is the real last minute.
How much effect do the sports view cameras going into every NBA stadium? How much effect does that have on player evaluation, and how much data do you think we'll be able to gain from that?
Well, I think that everybody having the cameras is a positive thing because it increases the amount of data that's available for everybody. How everybody uses that data, how confident everybody is in the data, at which point they use it, that's up to the individual team. But obviously, it's a positive for the league. It's an advancement. But every team's got to figure out the way in which they interpret and use that information.
Thanks, Sam.
Well, there you have it, Thunder General Manager Sam Presti. And we're really just getting things started. Friday is Media Day. Thunder head coach Scott Brooks will talk to reporters along with all of the Thunder players, and then practice begins on Saturday. We will have complete and extended coverage for you right here on 1340thegame.com and thundergamereport.com. So keep it right here. Check back often for Thunder coverage. At the Thunder Integris Health Training Center, I'm Randy Renner.